Those of you aware of my past life as a synthwave radio DJ will already be well aware of my love for The Weeknd. And I'm not just saying that because it's Friday. I bet I'm the first person to ever make that joke. Anyway, I first became aware of Abel when he started doing vocals on Kavinsky songs on his SoundCloud account in around 2013. And with every release since then, I've found more than a few songs to add to my collection of synthy boppers. I've intentionally avoided the singles from this album cycle so that I can take in the album as a whole for brand new. So, let's do it. Briefly though, this video is sponsored by me, Royston Charmaine, and my T-Mill store. Look at those garms you can get. roystoncharmaine.tmill.com. Look at that, looking fresh. Or, alternatively, you can instead support me on Ko-fi. Ko-fi.com/RoystonCharmaine or scan the QR code. Thank you! Wake Me Up is exactly what I wanted from the first track, as it fulfills the promise of its title in this morning where my Crohn's disease isn't playing ball. A song of two halves, it fittingly comes alive around a third of the way through, going from a slow string build to a retro dance bop. Excellent start. We fade seamlessly into Cry For Me, a fitting second track as we're introduced to Abel's sad synthy substance side. There's a plethora of reasons why I relate to this man's music, and this song has plenty of them there. Not as much of a vibe as the opener, but a really worthy track to follow. After a brief interlude, we're into Sao Paulo, a title that immediately excites me as I'm intrigued by a song named for one of the most populous cities on earth, and surely this will have a Brazilian flavour. And it does indeed, feeling like something ripped straight from FIFA Street. This track sees Abel flexing his creative muscles, and I'm always down for artists stretching themselves, even if this one felt a little thin. Another seamless transition via an EDM interlude sees us begin Baptized in Fear. This one is a hypnotising sway, reflective and self-loathing in a way that very few artists pull off to the extent that The Weeknd does. Best track on the album so far. Open Hearts picks the pace back up, a bass line thumping through the lethargy that the last track laid down. We build a little from there, but don't ascend to the heights that the introduction alludes to, remaining in mostly the same space as the last track, and the two exist perfectly alongside one another. The last 9 minutes or so of this album have been exceptional. Opening Night is an extended interlude that, I have to say, killed the momentum that the record was building. Hopefully it's only momentary as we enter Reflections laughing. It's both refreshing and worrying to encounter a man whose mental health is as vindictive as my own, especially in someone who, on the face of it, has everything he could ever need. This track isn't much to speak of musically, but it connected to me in other ways. Enjoyed the Show immediately reminded me of Junior's State, and that's a good way to get me to like your track. But oh boy, this one overstayed its welcome. It does nothing to justify being over 5 minutes long, and while we're at it, we might as well address the overly long elephant in the room. Why is this album almost an hour and a half? The cutting room floor is there for a reason, and this should have been on it. And Given Up On Me is even longer, but in this one there is at least an interesting reason why. Until the 2-minute mark, this is a regulation Weeknd song, but then everything drops away and we are fed something that feels like it escapes the hurriedly opening and closing door of a speakeasy. If I didn't know better, I'd assume this was the album closer. We're not even halfway. I Can't Wait to Get There strolls along with an almost Motown-esque vibe. I nodded my head and tapped both feet throughout this one, and that's the review. Thoroughly enjoyable, I'll come back for this. Timeless, unfortunately, feels dated, with the auto-tune mumble feature and looped sample beat. As I covered earlier this week, this ain't my thing. Niagara Falls feels otherworldly and surreal in a manner that I loved, but I could see some people being put off by. I was reminded of Para Vancouver, and I love that kind of stuff. If you don't though, maybe skip this one. The build into the next track was done beautifully. And said next track, Take Me Back to LA, is one of the best on the album to this point. Back to the sad synthy boy stuff that I love to listen to. This song is both longing and wistful in a way that feels genuine, like a man missing a part of himself. I don't want Abel to be sad, but I love it when The Weeknd is. Big Sleep is a big swing that doesn't miss, but doesn't really hit either. An odd listening experience that, whilst enjoyable, I probably won't repeat. Not really sure how to describe this one, best you just check it out for yourself. Give Me Mercy is what I feel like saying to this album's runtime. Having said that, this is one of the better songs on the album. For some reason it gives me a Bon Iver feeling. Positivity is beginning to seep through. Next up is a song called Drive that feels like a nighttime carefree cruise through the city. This is the synthy side of Abel that I was hoping to hear more of on this album. Simple but effective. The Abyss is finally what unlocked it for me, what I've spent this time waiting for and not received. Where's the floor filler? The dance numbers are never my favourites, but without them breaking up the sad boy tracks, I'm really feeling their absence here. The Abyss is fine, I don't think I'll remember it above the other 21 songs. Red Terror also doesn't do enough to distinguish itself from the 70 minutes that preceded it. I'm running out of things to say. The second half of Without a Warning picks up the pace, but only momentarily. My ADHD brain is running out of steam here. The title track ends the album on a surprisingly positive and hopeful note, one of the best songs on here, and it's a real shame that the record tried my patience so much before giving this to me. I am so disappointed to be saying this, but man, this album was a slog. Why on earth is it 84 minutes long? Prog albums aren't that long, and they have distinct sections and stories where this all felt quite the same. Baptized in Fear and Open Hearts are an excellent 1-2 combo, and the title track is great, but man, there's so much here that should have been cut. Given Up On Me had a feeling of finality, and that's not even halfway through the runtime. This is better than average music, some of it is excellent music, but as a whole, it's laborious. 6 out of 10. Nowhere near what I expected from the mind that made After Hours and Dawn FM. And on that disappointment, it's time to end. If you like my ramble reviews, subscribe to the channel. I'll love you forever. I've been Royston Charmaine, and until the future, drive safe.